think being fit meant you were invincible. I spent years training, pushing myself and my body to my limits, feeling like nothing could stop me. Until one night, my heart just stopped. Welcome to my ICD Life. I'm Stuart. Thank you for being here. Why are you here? Well, or why am I here? I thought I'd start this video by going over what happened, how I ended up being here, but more importantly, since the blip, the incident, I found it really difficult to find any information. Must stress, not a doctor. Seek professional medical advice before trying anything new. But this is just my experience and my journey so far. So when did it start? Back in May, Sunday the 3rd of May, it had been a normal weekend. Been to work that week. I'd had a nice long run on the Friday. Did a 15-mile run home from work on the Friday afternoon. Saturday was a nice relaxing day with the family and my wife Sarah. And then on the Sunday, we both went to a local cross-country route we use and did a 5-mile loop in preparation for an ultramarathon that I had coming up. After that, we went to the local garden centre, we had breakfast, and came home later on in the afternoon, had a barbecue, had a few beers, nothing crazy, just a couple of cans. And then in the evening, we settled down to watch TV. At just after 8 o'clock on the Sunday evening, I sat next to my wife Sarah when she said it appeared that my head just dropped and I went to sleep. What had actually happened was my heart had stopped, I had a sudden cardiac arrest, and it was me just simply gone, unfortunately. My wife, Sarah, amazing, quickly realised there was something wrong and began CPR straight away whilst dialing 999. I'm so lucky she was sat there with me. If it had been an hour or two later, if we'd been in bed, the first she would have known would have been the next morning when she'd woke up next to me, and I'd have been past a long time. But we can do what ifs, hows and whys and what could have happened till the cow come home. The simple truth is, she saved my life. She began the CPR. Shortly afterwards, the 999 operator had dispatched Lives, which is a thing local to Lincolnshire, the first responders who cover this area of Lincolnshire. Basically, where we are, we're quite rural and remote, and it can take up to 30 minutes for an ambulance to get to where we are from Lincoln or Boston being the nearest hospitals. So Lives cover this area, and they got to me within 10 minutes, and the paramedic from Lives who then took over the CPR from Sarah. Shortly after that, the ambulance arrived with another paramedic who helped him with the CPR, and then shortly again after that, the air ambulance doctor arrived along with another paramedic, and they began working on me. After 25 minutes they got me back, or roughly 25 minutes they got me back, and sedated me, and put in the breathing tubes and prepared me to move, and took me to Lincoln Hospital. After a brief spell in A&E, they moved me down to the intensive care unit, where I spent the first night. Then on the Monday, just after Sarah had gone home, I had another 3 cardiac arrests, to which obviously they revived me again and again. Rang Sarah and asked her to come back, which I can't believe how difficult that must have been for her. But she came back, and luckily they'd revived me yet again. So they kept me in a medical induced coma until the Thursday. On the Thursday they brought me round. They had tried bringing us round on the Wednesday, but I was quite combative and trying to pull too many tubes and cannulas out, so they put me back under for another 24 hours. But on the Thursday, they brought me round, and I was quickly quite with it, and the nurse explained to me what had happened. And then shortly after that, Sarah had arrived, and I was shocked, but I think I took it quite well when I heard the news of what had happened. I'd had a battery of tests done, all MRIs, CAT scans, all the tests you would expect to be done on someone who'd had a cardiac arrest. And then to this day, despite having more tests done, no one knows why my heart stopped, what stopped that electrical signal, and what caused the cardiac arrest. Now, I spent up to 10 days in ICU. Well, the care I received was fantastic. Very quickly, by probably day 7, I was upright, sat in the chair on my iPad, watching movies, chatting to everybody, eating regularly, taking myself to the bathroom rather than relying on the good old bedpan. Then after 10 days, I moved down to cardiology. Well, there's some more tests, and eventually after 5 days in there, they decided it was time to implant the ICD, the internal cardiac defibrillator, in my chest. It's up here, my little on the left hand side. And then the very next day I was home. It was a whirlwind of my life changing, going from being, I don't say it enough, from being a keen amateur athlete who's run, cycled and swum my entire life, and then just stepping into the ultra running community. I had my first few races booked and coming up. I'd never felt healthier, even though I'm in my early 50s. So a complete shock. And when I eventually got home, the hardest thing I had to deal with was the shock and the what ifs. I'm not going to lie, my wife had a few weeks off with me when I got home, and it was great when I was with Sarah. I was relaxed, I was comfortable, I was recovering well. I was going for short walks of a couple of miles within a week. But then when Sarah went back to work and I was on my own, I went to some dark places, and my mind played on me, and there was a lot of what ifs, and I became a bit obsessed with what had happened if I died and what happens when you die, and generally just some horribly dark places. Luckily, I managed to pluck up the courage to talk to Sarah about it, which in itself was a weight off. I felt 100%, 50% to 100% better immediately. The darkness lifted. Also from the follow-up treatment from the hospital, as well as the regular checkups I've had since I've been released 3 months ago, I have spoken to counsellors, and I'm now going to go to weekly counselling to talk about what I'd been through and how it's affected me, which I am generally looking forward to starting as soon as possible. So what has happened? I mean, fitness was a big thing for me. I'd always battled against the weight all my life. My love of food and my love of fitness meet somewhere in the middle, and they kind of offset each other. But for my mental health, the best thing I love doing is running. I thought I'd lost all that, which played on my mind. So I went and started researching, can I run? Can I cycle? Can I swim? Answer is no, I can't. But I can walk and I can run. And as the cardiologist said to me at the end of July when I had my 3-month checkup for my placement, the reason I have this device is so I can carry on as normal and live my life as I would have lived. And this is just a safety net for us to try and stop anything like that happening again. So yeah, big shocks, big shock, big lifestyle change. I did gain a bit of weight in the first month I was at home. I was eating far too much, sat on the sofa, getting a bit depressed, and also probably drinking a bit too much as well. So I've turned it around now with the help of Sarah, and I'm very much on a positive path now. So what's the point of this video? So for me, in my own journey, I'm going to record what happens over the next year or two and just see how I progress and how I end up living with my ICD and what compromises I make and what achievements I can make whilst in the future. So hopefully this video will be useful to people who are in the same position and are wondering what you can and cannot do. As I say, I could find very little information, and everything just said ask your cardiologist. And the cardiologist, I don't know about wherever you may live in Lincolnshire, it's not that easy just to ask them. It took me 3 months to get that last appointment I should have after 4 weeks of being out of hospital. And that's not a criticism of the hospital, it's just how things are at the moment with an overstretched health service who are doing their best. And were amazing when I was in there as well, I must say. So this is my journey and what I am doing to try and regain my health and some level of fitness. And I'll be happy if you come along with me, and hopefully you can take some inspiration for yourselves. And maybe share your own journey, share your own experiences in the comments, and definitely look forward to the life we have now got and been given back and that we're going to live. So thank you very much for watching. This has been a very short one, and see you next time. See you next week. I'm going to try and make these weekly. Please leave any comments down below, and don't forget, as people say on these things, to like and subscribe for further updates on my return to health and my fitness journey, living with my ICD, and also other things we get up to. The exciting week coming up, we're going up to Robin Hood's Bay, bit of camping, see how that works out in this weather. It's been hotter than you can imagine all summer, and now there's torrential rain outside as we're speaking. So hopefully that'll clear up a little bit before we go camping next week. So take care, have a great week, speak to you next week. Bye.